Hey y'all, welcome back to Let's Unpack That with me, Sojourner, social worker, travel blogger, and this is your favorite travel education series, am I right? You know we gotta unpack that, right? In today's topic, we're going to be talking about gender, in particular cisgender privilege. And if you don't know what the word cisgender means, it is defined as individuals whose assigned sex at birth is also their gender identity. For example, me, I was assigned female at birth and my gender identity is a woman, therefore I am a cisgender woman or a cis woman for short. You'll also hear me use the term non-binary, which refers to individuals who do not ascribe to the binary of man and woman. You'll also hear me talk about transgender travelers. And transgender is someone whose gender identity differs from what they were assigned at birth. And just be mindful that these aren't either or identities. Someone can be transgender and non-binary. They're trans women, trans men, and so we can't put people in boxes. It just depends on the person and again how they identify, so we don't assume. So what are some examples of cisgender privilege as we travel? 1, safety. Yes, I am a woman. Yes, I'm a black woman, and that has its own layer of safety issues. However, people who are trans or non-binary have higher risk when it comes to safety because their identities are not what people think are the norm, quote unquote, or they don't fit the binary that we've all been taught is how gender is supposed to be. And the safety issues that transgender and non-binary people have to face is due to our culture's transphobia and bigotry, and therefore of course they have a heightened safety risk when they are traveling to countries with different customs. And so that requires extra research on how a country views or receives non-binary and transgender identities, which is something that people like me who are cisgender do not have to worry about as we're traveling. 2, as a cisgender person, we are never misgendered. A lot of times people think that you can look at somebody and know their gender, but that's actually not how it works. Cisgender people, we can go from place to place without people not understanding our pronouns or questioning our pronouns. Another example is with our travel documents. So a lot of the times, most countries don't allow you to have a gender outside of man or woman on travel documents. Therefore, people who are non-binary aren't even listed. And with transgender travelers, in order to get documents changed, they have to go through gender affirming search, which can be costly and some people don't want to. And so if they don't, then the chances of them getting documents that have their correct gender on it are way lower, and therefore they're more likely to be detained or questioned when going through customs or TSA. Another example of cisgender privilege is the solo female travel space. The majority of solo female travelers are cisgender travelers, and even the language of solo female travel instead of solo women travel also shows that we often confuse gender and sex even in the categories that we define travel niches. And with the TSA body scanners, I'm going to read a portion of an article that I would recommend people read, and it's called The Unique Anxiety of Traveling While Transgender by Cam Burns. And Cam outlines an experience with TSA. And it reads, the TSA body scanners that are used in standard security protocols in airports were not designed for people with bodies that aren't gender normative. TSA agents have just a few moments to hit a blue or pink button, which is also gendered, before a person steps into the machine. If there is a penis or breast where the machine thinks there should not be, an alarm goes off. So even the technology that we use to travel, again, is biased. And this article was written in 2019, so it's relatively recent. I'm not sure if this has been updated, but the fact that it even existed in the first place shows, again, how cisgender people do not have to face these same issues. And so what are some things that we should keep in mind as cisgender people? First of all, just know that with this privilege or any other identity where we hold privilege, our work is never done. We should never be giving ourselves a pat on the back for being decent human beings. or a pat on the back for just affirming people as they are, because that's what we should be doing in the first place. So that's number one. Number two is that simple things like accepting people's pronouns and not questioning why they use such pronouns, because honestly, it's none of our business, especially if we just met them in a hostel or something. Remember that people cannot pass as a gender. That is not a thing. So we should not assume people's genders. If we're out at a tour and someone greets the tour as ladies and gentlemen or calls people ma'am and sir, just being mindful that that could be erasing a non-binary person's existence when we don't use gender inclusive language. Also, with non-binary people, understand that they can have pronouns other than they, them, theirs. If you are like me and you want to read more, I would highly recommend the article I mentioned earlier by Cam Burns. It's called The Unique Anxiety of Traveling While Transgender. There's an article by Unearthed Women that is an interview with Lee, who is a transgender person as well, and they are offering tips from their experiences and how we can move forward as a travel community to be more inclusive. I also want to mention the Black Trans Travel Fund. They are a grassroots Black trans-led collective providing Black transgender women with financial and material resources needed to remove barriers to self-determining and accessing safer travel options. The fund was created out of the direct response to the violence of Black transgender women across the U.S., which they continue to face. You can find them on social media and donate via PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo at Black Trans Travel Fund. And remember that the way that we treat people in our own country is an indicator of how we treat others abroad. So support if you're in the US or elsewhere. So if you want to learn more about other gender identities, go to itgetsbetter.org, and they have a glossary with both written and video information on these definitions and others. And that is it for this video. Let me know if you learned something new. Always stay curious. I will see you all at my next video. Bye.